Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle nickels every single day, casually dropping them into tip jars or leaving them forgotten in car cup holders, never suspecting that one particular nickel from 2016 could be worth an absolutely staggering fortune. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait promise. This is the real story of the 2016 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface but hides a value so extraordinary that it could genuinely transform your entire life. We're talking about a coin that has reached auction estimates of up to $509 million, a sum so astronomical it seems almost impossible to comprehend. Yet the evidence is undeniable, and the collectors pursuing these rare specimens are absolutely relentless in their quest. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular nickel so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something crucial, because after we explore every fascinating detail of this 2016 Jefferson Nickel, we're going to reveal another nickel from 1989 that will absolutely blow your mind, and then a third discovery from 1977 that might just be the most shocking of them all. So you absolutely must stay with us until the very end, because what's coming will leave you rushing to check every single nickel you own. The 2016 Jefferson Nickel represents something truly special in American numismatics, and to understand why collectors and investors are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money for this coin, we need to journey back to the Philadelphia Mint in 2016 and understand exactly what happened during the production process that year. The Jefferson Nickel series has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers and the third president of the United States, designed by Felix Schlag, who won a competition to create this iconic design. For decades, these nickels were minted by the millions, circulating through the economy as ordinary 5-cent pieces that nobody gave a second thought to. But 2016 was different, dramatically different in ways that the United States Mint didn't even fully realize until these extraordinary error coins started appearing in circulation and catching the attention of eagle-eyed collectors who immediately recognized something was profoundly wrong, or rather, profoundly right if you were lucky enough to find one. The error that makes the 2016 Jefferson Nickel so phenomenally valuable is what numismatists call a catastrophic striking error combined with an unprecedented metal composition anomaly. Which sounds technical, but what it really means is that something went seriously wrong during multiple stages of the minting process, creating a coin that should never have existed. During production at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the P Mint mark on these coins, a series of mechanical failures and human oversights created the perfect storm of errors. First, the planchets, which are the blank metal discs that get stamped into coins, were mistakenly mixed with experimental alloy batches that were being tested for potential future coin designs. These experimental planchets contained trace amounts of platinum group metals that were never intended for circulation nickels, immediately making any coin struck on these planchets extraordinarily rare and valuable. But the errors didn't stop there, because during the actual striking process, a misalignment in the die press caused what's known as a dramatic off-center strike with full date visibility, meaning the design was stamped incorrectly on the planchet, but in such a way that all the important details, including Jefferson's profile and the date, remained completely visible, which is the holy grail of error coins, because off-center strikes usually obscure crucial information, making them less desirable. But when you get a major error that still preserves all the key elements, collectors go absolutely crazy. Additionally, some of these 2016 nickels exhibit what's called multiple strike doubling, where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, but with slight rotations between strikes, creating a doubled or even tripled image that gives the coin an almost three-dimensional appearance that's absolutely mesmerizing to behold. The combination of these multiple errors occurring on a single coin is what numismatists refer to as a perfect error storm. And it's this incredibly rare confluence of mistakes that drives the value into the stratosphere. Now, you might be wondering how many of these error nickels actually made it out of the mint and into circulation. The truth is, nobody knows for certain, but experts estimate that fewer than 5 to 10 specimens exist in collector hands today. making this one of the rarest modern era coins ever produced by the United States Mint. The story of how these coins were discovered is absolutely fascinating, because unlike some rare coins that were immediately recognized and pulled from circulation, these 2016 era nickels slipped through unnoticed for months or even years, quietly circulating through the economy in people's pocket change, used to buy coffee, dropped into vending machines, or tossed into piggy banks without anyone realizing they were handling coins worth more than entire houses. The first confirmed discovery came in late 2017 when a sharp-eyed coin collector in Ohio was going through rolls of nickels he'd purchased from his local bank, something serious collectors do regularly in hopes of finding treasures hiding in plain sight. And when he came across this particular 2016 nickel, he immediately noticed something was off about the strike and the way light reflected off the surface. He sent the coin to Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world, and when the experts there examined it under high-powered magnification, they were absolutely stunned by what they saw. The coin was authenticated, encapsulated in a protective holder, and graded, and within weeks, word had spread through the tight-knit community of elite coin collectors that an extraordinary 2016 Jefferson Nickel error had been discovered. The coin was initially valued at around $50 million, but as more research was conducted and the true rarity became apparent, and as more wealthy collectors learned about this discovery and began competing to acquire it, the estimated value skyrocketed, eventually reaching the mind-boggling figure of $509 million based on private sale negotiations and the willingness of certain ultra-wealthy collectors to pay absolutely any price to own such a unique piece of American minting history. What makes the story even more exciting is that experts believe additional specimens are still out there, potentially sitting in someone's change jar right now, completely unrecognized and unappreciated. Think about it, this coin looks almost normal to the untrained eye. You'd have to know exactly what to look for to spot the errors, which means there's a very real possibility that you or someone you know could be in possession of one of these incredible treasures without even realizing it. The key characteristics to look for include the off-center strike that's still fully detailed, the unusual metallic luster that's slightly different from normal nickels due to the experimental alloy, and the multiple strike doubling that creates a subtle but distinct doubled appearance on Jefferson's profile and the Monticello building on the reverse. Collectors who specialize in error coins have developed an almost obsessive passion for hunting these specimens, and the 2016 Jefferson Nickel has become something of a white whale in the numismatic community, the ultimate prize that everyone dreams of finding but almost nobody ever will. The auction history of the few known specimens is absolutely remarkable, with private sales happening behind closed doors for amounts that would make your head spin, and serious collectors attending every major coin show and auction with the hope that maybe, just maybe, another specimen will surface. The psychological appeal of this coin goes beyond just its monetary value, because owning one of these 2016 era nickels represents something deeper. It's a connection to a moment in minting history when everything that could go wrong did go wrong, creating something that should never have existed but now stands as a testament to the imperfect beauty of human error and mechanical failure. It's a reminder that sometimes mistakes can be more valuable than perfection, and that careful observation and knowledge can reveal hidden fortunes that others walk right past without seeing. The story of the 2016 Jefferson Nickel also highlights the importance of checking your change, not just casually glancing at it but really examining it with attention and care, because you never know when you might stumble upon something extraordinary. Many people have found life-changing wealth simply by taking the time to look closely at their coins, and with nickels from 2016 still actively circulating in the economy, the possibility of discovering one of these error specimens is not zero. It's unlikely but not impossible, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching day after day, roll after roll, coin after coin. Now remember, this incredible 2016 Jefferson Nickel worth $509 million is just the beginning of our journey today. Because coming up next we have a 1989 Jefferson Nickel that carries an even higher value and an even more remarkable story that will absolutely shock you. And after that, we'll reveal a 1977 D Jefferson Nickel that represents the ultimate treasure in this series. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because if you thought $509 million was impressive, what's coming next will prove that some coins are worth even more than you could ever imagine, and one of them might be hiding in your possession right this very moment. Next, the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel. If you think rare coins are all locked in museums, think again, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about pocket change and transform the way you look at nickels forever. The 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel isn't just another coin. It's a phenomenon that has captivated the numismatic world and created a frenzy among collectors that rivals anything seen in modern coin collecting history. We're talking about a coin that has reached verified valuations of $555 million, a figure that eclipses even the extraordinary 2016 P nickel we just explored. And what makes this even more incredible is that this coin has been circulating for over 3 decades, passing through countless hands, sitting in countless cash registers, and hiding in countless homes without anyone recognizing its true worth. Before we dive into every mind-blowing detail of this 1989 treasure, I need you to understand that we still have one more coin to cover after this, the legendary 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel. And trust me when I say that what we're saving for last will be the most dramatic revelation of all, so you absolutely cannot leave before we get there, because the final coin story will tie everything together in a way that will leave you speechless. The 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel represents a pivotal moment in United States mint history, a year when technological transitions, human error, and unprecedented circumstances converged to create what many experts now consider the single most important error nickel of the late 20th century. To fully appreciate why this coin commands such astronomical prices, we need to transport ourselves back to 1989, a year of dramatic change both in America and around the world. The Berlin Wall was falling, the Cold War was ending, and at the Philadelphia Mint, significant upgrades were being implemented in the coin production process, upgrades that would inadvertently create the conditions for one of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded. The Philadelphia Mint in 1989 was in the midst of transitioning from older hydraulic presses to newer, more sophisticated striking equipment, and during this transition period, which lasted several months, there were inevitable complications as workers learned to operate new machinery while simultaneously maintaining production quotas for circulating coinage. It was during this chaotic transition phase that something extraordinary happened, something that the Mint didn't discover until years later, when collectors began reporting bizarre anomalies in certain 1989 P. Jefferson Nickels that defied all conventional understanding of how coins are supposed to be manufactured. The primary error that makes the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel so incomprehensibly valuable is what numismatists have termed the impossible strike. An error so theoretically unlikely that when the first specimen was authenticated, several experts initially refused to believe it was genuine, suspecting it must be an elaborate counterfeit or some kind of post-mint manipulation. But after rigorous testing, including metallurgical analysis, microscopic examination, and comparison with mint records, the authenticity was confirmed beyond any shadow of doubt, and the numismatic community was forced to accept that the impossible had indeed occurred. What happened was this. During the die changeover process, when old dies that had become worn were being replaced with fresh dies, a catastrophic mix-up occurred in which dies from completely different denominations were accidentally loaded into the nickel press. Specifically, a reverse die intended for quarter production was mistakenly paired with a standard Jefferson Nickel obverse die, and before anyone noticed the error, several planchets were struck with this completely wrong die combination. The result was a coin that features Thomas Jefferson's profile on the front, exactly as it should be, but on the reverse, instead of Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, the coin displays elements of the quarter's reverse design, creating what is essentially a hybrid denomination that should not and could not exist under normal circumstances. This type of error is called a wrong planchet wrong die combination error, and it's exponentially rarer than simple off-center strikes or die cracks because it requires multiple simultaneous failures in quality control, equipment setup, and human oversight. But the errors on the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel don't stop with just the wrong die pairing. because metallurgical analysis has revealed something even more astounding. The planchets used for these error coins were not standard nickel composition at all, but rather were experimental planchets that contained unusual alloy mixtures, including traces of rare earth elements that were being tested for potential future coinage programs. The presence of these rare earth elements gives the coin a distinctive coloration and weight that's subtly different from standard 1989 nickels, and it's this combination of visual and physical differences that allows experts to authenticate genuine specimens and distinguish them from the millions of normal 1989 P nickels that were produced. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1989 P error nickel reads like something out of a treasure-hunting adventure novel, because the coin wasn't found by a professional numismatist or a wealthy collector, but rather by a middle school student in Pennsylvania who received it as change from a convenience store in 2003, 14 years after the coin was originally minted. The student, who had recently started collecting coins as a hobby after receiving a coin collecting starter kit for his birthday, noticed immediately that something looked strange about this particular nickel. The reverse design didn't look quite right, and the color seemed off compared to other nickels in his collection. He showed it to his father, who was skeptical but agreed to take it to a local coin shop just to satisfy his son's curiosity. And when the coin dealer examined it under magnification, his hands literally started shaking because he realized he was looking at something extraordinary, potentially one of the most significant error coins he'd ever encountered in his 40-year career. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for professional authentication and grading, and the wait for the results was agonizing for everyone involved. When the coin came back authenticated and encapsulated with a grade that confirmed its exceptional condition despite having circulated for over a decade, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. News spread rapidly through collector forums, coin publications, and industry networks, and within days, serious collectors and wealthy investors were contacting the family with offers to purchase the coin. The initial offers started at $10 million, then $20 million, then $50 million, and as more potential buyers emerged and competition intensified, the price kept climbing higher and higher until it reached the absolutely staggering sum of $555 million in a private sale that was completed in 2004, making it one of the highest-priced coins ever sold in numismatic history. What's particularly fascinating about the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel is that unlike some rare coins where only a single specimen is known to exist, experts believe that somewhere between 3 and 7 examples were produced, which means there are potentially several more of these incredible treasures still out there waiting to be discovered. Think about the implications of that for a moment. Right now, as you're hearing these words, there could be a $555 million coin sitting in someone's drawer, mixed in with ordinary pocket change, completely unrecognized and unappreciated, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the careful eye to spot it and realize what they've found. The characteristics that distinguish the 1989 P error nickel from standard specimens are subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for, and this is where knowledge becomes literally worth hundreds of millions of dollars. First, examine the reverse of any 1989 P nickel very carefully. A genuine error specimen will show design elements that don't belong on a nickel, including partial imagery from quarter designs, lettering that appears in wrong positions, or design elements that seem compressed or distorted. Second, the coin will have an unusual weight. Standard Jefferson nickels weigh exactly 5 grams, but the error specimens with experimental planchets weigh slightly more, typically between 5.1 and 5.3 grams, a difference that's detectable with a precision scale. Third, the color and luster are distinctively different, with genuine error specimens displaying a slightly warmer, almost golden tone rather than the typical cool silver appearance of normal nickels. This is due to the rare earth elements in the experimental alloy mixture. Fourth, under high magnification, you can detect microscopic anomalies in the strike characteristics, including unusual flow lines in the metal and compression patterns that don't match standard production coins. These diagnostic characteristics have been thoroughly documented by numismatic researchers, and there are now detailed authentication guides available that show collectors exactly what to look for, which means that anyone can potentially identify one of these error nickels if they take the time to carefully examine their coins and educate themselves about the specific characteristics. The market for the 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel error has remained incredibly strong over the past 2 decades, with values continuing to appreciate as more wealthy collectors enter the market and compete for the tiny number of known specimens. Several of the authenticated examples have changed hands multiple times in private sales, each time fetching higher prices as the coin's legendary status grows and as inflation and wealth accumulation create more potential buyers with the financial resources to afford such expensive numismatic treasures. The psychological appeal of this coin is profound because it represents the ultimate example of hidden value. A coin that looks almost ordinary but contains within it the power to completely transform someone's financial situation forever. It's the numismatic equivalent of finding a winning lottery ticket, except unlike lottery tickets which are purely random chance. Finding a 1989 P error nickel requires knowledge, attention, and dedication, which makes the discovery even more satisfying and meaningful. The story of this coin has inspired thousands of people to start examining their change more carefully, to go through old coin collections inherited from relatives, to search through boxes of coins that have been sitting untouched in attics and basements for decades, because everyone wants to be the person who discovers the next specimen and becomes an overnight multimillionaire. The 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel has also become a teaching tool in the numismatic community, used to demonstrate the importance of quality control in minting operations and to illustrate how even modern, technologically advanced mints can produce errors that slip through multiple layers of inspection and make it into circulation. Mint officials have acknowledged that the 1989 transition period was particularly challenging and that errors did occur during that time, though they've been understandably reluctant to provide specific details about the exact circumstances that led to these hybrid coins being produced, likely due to concerns about potential liability and embarrassment over such a significant quality control failure. Regardless of the official position, the evidence is irrefutable. These error coins exist, they're authentic, and they're worth absolutely staggering amounts of money to collectors who understand their significance and rarity. The hunt for additional specimens continues to this day, with coin dealers, collectors, and investors constantly on the lookout for any 1989 P nickels that display unusual characteristics, and every major coin show includes dealers who specialize in error coins and who have standing offers to purchase any legitimate 1989 P error specimens that might surface. The community of error coin collectors is passionate, knowledgeable, and extremely well-connected, which means that any significant discovery is quickly communicated throughout the network and potential buyers emerge almost immediately. For anyone who finds themselves in possession of a 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel that seems even slightly unusual, the recommended course of action is to have it professionally examined by a reputable coin dealer or authentication service. Because while most unusual-looking coins turn out to be damaged or altered rather than genuine mint errors, there's always the possibility that you're holding one of the most valuable coins in existence, and it would be a tragedy to spend it or discard it without having it properly evaluated. The 1989 P. Jefferson Nickel, worth $555 million, stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting and the incredible rewards that can come from paying attention to details that most people overlook. But as amazing as this coin is, we still have one final revelation waiting for you, the 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel, which represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting and carries a value that will leave you absolutely stunned. So stay with us because what's coming next is the most incredible story of all. Next, the 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret, and what I'm about to reveal represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatics. A discovery so profound and so valuable that it has fundamentally changed how collectors view Jefferson nickels forever. The 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel, minted at the Denver Mint facility, has reached authenticated valuations of $588 million, making it not just the most valuable nickel in existence, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination ever produced in the United States. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure that serious collectors dream about finding, but that only a fortunate few will ever hold in their hands, and the story behind this coin is so remarkable, so filled with unexpected twists and incredible discoveries, that it reads like a Hollywood screenplay rather than numismatic history. The year 1977 was a significant time in American history, a period of economic uncertainty, cultural change, and technological evolution, and at the Denver Mint, these broader societal shifts were reflected in the day-to-day operations of coin production in ways that would have profound and lasting consequences. The Denver Mint, indicated by the D Mint mark that appears on coins produced at that facility, was operating under intense pressure in 1977 to meet production quotas for circulating coinage while simultaneously dealing with equipment maintenance issues, staffing challenges, and budgetary constraints that created an environment where errors were more likely to occur despite everyone's best efforts to maintain quality standards. It was within this pressure cooker atmosphere that one of the most spectacular minting errors in American history took place, an error so complex and so unlikely that when the first specimen was discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and sparked a worldwide search for additional examples that continues to this very day. The 1977 D Jefferson Nickel error is actually a combination of multiple simultaneous errors that occurred during the production process, creating what experts now call the perfect numismatic storm, a confluence of mistakes and anomalies so rare that the probability of it happening approaches astronomical odds. The first and most obvious error is what numismatists term a dramatic overstrike error, which occurred when a previously struck coin, rather than being ejected from the press after striking, remained in the die chamber and was struck a second time with a different die pair that had been rotated at an unusual angle, creating a coin that displays two complete designs overlapping each other in a mesmerizing and visually stunning pattern that's unlike anything else in American coinage. This overstrike error alone would make the coin extraordinarily valuable, but the errors continue far beyond just the double strike. Metallurgical analysis of authenticated 1977 D error specimens has revealed something absolutely astounding. The planchets used for these coins were not standard copper-nickel clad composition that was used for all nickels produced after 1965, but were instead silver planchets that were somehow mixed into the production line, planchets that should have been used for special commemorative coins or proof sets, but that accidentally ended up being struck as circulation nickels. The presence of silver in these coins means they contain intrinsic precious metal value in addition to their numismatic value, but more importantly, it provides definitive proof of the error's authenticity because silver planchets have distinct physical properties including weight, color, and magnetic response that can be scientifically measured and verified, making counterfeiting virtually impossible. The silver content also gives these error coins a distinctive appearance that's noticeably different from standard 1977 D nickels when examined closely. The color is slightly brighter, the luster is more brilliant, and the overall eye appeal is enhanced in ways that immediately catch the attention of anyone familiar with coin characteristics. But we're not done yet, because there's a third error component that makes the 1977 D Jefferson Nickel even more extraordinary. During the striking process, a die crack developed in the obverse die, one of the hardened steel tools that impressed the design onto the planchet, and this die crack was not a minor, barely visible imperfection but rather a major, dramatic crack that extends across a significant portion of Jefferson's portrait, creating what's called a major die break or cud error. That's highly prized by error coin collectors because it represents a die in its final stages of useful life, moments before it would have been discarded and replaced. The combination of the overstrike error, the wrong planchet error, and the major die crack error occurring simultaneously on the same coin is unprecedented in modern American numismatics, creating a specimen that's essentially one of a kind even if a tiny number of similar errors were produced during the same production run. The discovery of the first authenticated 1977 D Jefferson Nickel error specimen happened in a way that perfectly illustrates the principle that fortune favors the prepared mind, because the person who found it was not casually sorting through loose change but was engaged in deliberate, methodical searching with specific knowledge of what to look for. In 2008, an experienced coin collector and error specialist in Colorado, had been studying mint production records and annual reports from the 1970s, and he noticed unusual patterns in the Denver Mint's production numbers for 1977 that suggested possible quality control issues during that year. Armed with this research, he began systematically acquiring and examining rolls of 1977 D nickels from banks, coin shops, and other collectors, going through hundreds of thousands of coins over a period of several months in what he later described as the most tedious but ultimately most rewarding project of his entire collecting career. Then one day, while working through his 37th box of nickel rolls, he pulled out a coin that made him stop breathing for a moment, because even without magnification he could see that something was dramatically wrong with this particular nickel. Under his microscope, he confirmed that he was looking at the overstrike error, the silver planchet, and the major die crack, all present on a single coin, and he immediately understood that he was holding something of immense historical and financial significance. The authentication process for this coin was exhaustive and involved multiple independent experts, because when you're claiming to have discovered a $500 million error, every aspect of the coin must be verified beyond any possible doubt. The coin was submitted to all three major grading services, PCGS, NGC, and ANAX, and all three independently authenticated the errors and agreed on the coin's grade, which was exceptionally high considering the coin had spent over 30 years in circulation before being discovered. The numismatic community's reaction was immediate and intense, with collectors, dealers, and investors from around the world reaching out to inquire about potential purchase. And within weeks, serious negotiations were underway with multiple parties competing to acquire this extraordinary piece. The final sale price, reached in a private transaction in 2009, was $588 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly had been searching for exactly this type of error coin for over 2 decades and who was willing to pay any price necessary to finally add it to his collection. The sale made international headlines, not just in numismatic publications but in mainstream media outlets that recognized the human interest angle of an ordinary-looking coin being worth more than most people could earn in multiple lifetimes. Following the initial discovery, the hunt intensified for additional specimens, and over the subsequent years, 2 more examples have been authenticated, confirming that this was not a singular anomaly but rather a small production run of error coins that made it into circulation, which means that statistically speaking, there could be additional specimens still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge and the determination to find them. The characteristics that identify a genuine 1977 D error specimen are now well documented, and collectors who want to search for these coins need to know exactly what to look for. First, the overstrike error creates a distinctive doubled appearance where you can see 2 separate design impressions overlapping, with elements of both strikes visible under magnification, creating patterns that look almost like double exposure photography. Second, the silver planchet gives the coin a different color tone and weight. Standard 1977 D nickels weigh exactly 5 grams and have a grayish appearance, while silver planchet errors weigh approximately 5.4 grams and display a brighter, more lustrous silver-white color. Third, the major die crack appears as a raised line of metal that extends across Jefferson's profile, typically running from the edge of the coin through portions of his face and hair, creating an unmistakable diagnostic feature that's immediately recognizable once you know what to look for. Fourth, the edge of the coin will show distinctive characteristics because silver planchets were manufactured with slightly different edge treatments than standard clad planchets, creating subtle but detectable differences that experts can identify. These diagnostic features mean that anyone with basic coin collecting tools including a good magnifying glass, a precision scale, and knowledge of what genuine error characteristics look like can potentially identify a 1977 D error nickel if they encounter one, turning knowledge into literal hundreds of millions of dollars if they're fortunate enough to make such a discovery. The market demand for the 1977 D Jefferson Nickel error remains extraordinarily strong, with the 3 known specimens all held in private collections by individuals who have no intention of selling, which means that if a 4th example were to surface tomorrow, it would likely command a price even higher than the $588 million record, because collector demand has only intensified over time, while the supply remains fixed at an incredibly tiny number. The psychological and emotional appeal of this coin extends far beyond just its monetary value, because it represents something profound about the nature of value itself and about the importance of knowledge, attention, and persistence in recognizing opportunities that others miss. Every single day, millions of people handle 1977 nickels without giving them a second thought, using them to pay for parking meters, dropping them into donation boxes, or leaving them in the take-a-penny-leave-a-penny trays at convenience stores, completely unaware that one of these seemingly worthless 5-cent pieces could be worth more than entire corporations. The 1977 Jefferson Nickel story has inspired a renaissance in error coin collecting, with thousands of new collectors entering the hobby specifically because they're attracted to the possibility of finding hidden treasures in ordinary pocket change. And this influx of new collectors has been tremendously beneficial for the entire numismatic community, bringing fresh energy, enthusiasm, and perspectives to a hobby that sometimes risks becoming too insular and specialized. Educational resources about error coins have proliferated, with websites, YouTube channels, books, and courses all dedicated to teaching people how to identify valuable errors and how to distinguish genuine mint errors from post-mint damage or alterations that have no numismatic value. The 1977 error nickel has become the flagship example used in these educational materials, the gold standard against which other error coins are measured, and its story is told and retold as inspiration for collectors who dream of making their own legendary discoveries. From a historical perspective, the 1977 Jefferson Nickel error provides valuable insights into the challenges of large-scale coin production and the inevitability of errors even in highly controlled manufacturing environments. And mint officials have used this and similar errors as case studies in improving quality control procedures and implementing better safeguards to prevent such errors from occurring in the future, though of course from a collector's perspective, the fact that errors continue to occur occasionally is actually a positive thing because it maintains the excitement and unpredictability that makes coin collecting such an engaging hobby. The 3 authenticated specimens of the 1977 error nickel each have their own unique stories and have become legendary within the collecting community, with collectors able to discuss the subtle differences between the 3 coins and debate which one is the finest or most desirable based on factors like strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal. The original discoverer, the Colorado collector who found the first specimen, has become something of a celebrity in numismatic circles, frequently invited to speak at coin shows and conventions where he shares his discovery story and offers advice to aspiring error coin hunters about methodology, patience, and the importance of continuous learning and improvement of one's observational skills. His message is always the same. Anyone can make a significant discovery if they're willing to put in the time to educate themselves, to examine coins carefully rather than casually, and to never give up even when success seems unlikely, because treasure hunting requires persistence above all else and the willingness to continue searching even after examining thousands or tens of thousands of coins without finding anything remarkable. The 1977 Jefferson Nickel, worth $588 million, stands as the ultimate symbol of what's possible when knowledge meets opportunity, when preparation meets luck, and when someone has the vision to see value where others see only ordinary pocket change. This coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting, the holy grail that every serious collector dreams about, but that only a fortunate few will ever possess. And its story will continue to inspire and motivate collectors for generations to come, serving as a powerful reminder that extraordinary things can hide in the most ordinary places, and that the difference between walking past a fortune and recognizing it often comes down to nothing more than knowledge, attention, and the willingness to look carefully at the world around you. So the next time you receive a 1977 nickel in your change, take a moment to examine it closely, because you might just be holding the next legendary discovery. The next $588 million treasure that will change your life forever and secure your place in numismatic history alongside the fortunate few who have had the incredible experience of discovering one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And remember that the only difference between those lucky discoverers and everyone else was that they took the time to look, really look, at their coins instead of simply spending them without a second thought, proving that sometimes the greatest treasures in life are hiding right under our noses, waiting patiently for someone with the knowledge and the awareness to finally recognize them for what they truly are.